in my
Okay, so I am here with Jacqui Taaffe, who is an amazing author. She has a book called Inspire, Heal and Empower. I'm gonna take off my glasses, sorry. And I'm Lucy Townsley, and I'm a women's health expert. So I help women who are suffering with fertility or, worrying through their pregnancy and going through menopause or perimenopause. And Jacqui is a lady that I met through your Holistic Academy, and she's really inspired me with her training that she does, her resilience methods. And I'm going to hand it over to Jacqui because she is going to inspire you with a story that she's going to share with us. So, hi Jacqui, welcome.
Lucy, always a pleasure to speak with you, my dear. Just to say what we were kind of talking about before we just came on camera, and the power of unity and the power of us all coming together and talking about whether it's your menopause, whether it's a personal issue that you have in your family life, that the power comes from speaking to other people. And you're very quickly disarmed when you're on your own.
It's very true.
Because you feel, I'm on my own, nobody gets this, nobody understands this. And yet it's about finding that voice, simply saying, do you know what? I've got this situation, I'm in trouble. And well, you will be guaranteed, because as human beings, we're designed to connect, that somebody will reach out. And all of a sudden, you're having a conversation which is mirroring the other person's situation, and you're not alone. And this is where we need to come together as women to talk about whatever the topics are, whether that
almost, so I'm going to interrupt you, it's almost like an aha moment when you're sharing what you're going through with another person. You kind of go, oh my goodness, they're having the same things that I am, maybe different scales, but it is, I've often done that myself, like I'm gone, oh, wow.
Yes,
it is.
Yes.
Oh,
and really to say that it's really just conditioning that keeps us quiet and tells us and maybe trains us. We've been trained as children to, maybe just don't say that to everybody, because
or be seen and not heard.
Yes, or maybe just choose one person to go to talk to that about, because maybe everybody else might want to know about that. That's conditioning. And it is my firm experience, by sharing my story, by being open and transparent, and by no longer carrying the shame of something that happened to me, that was imposed on me rather than I brought it on myself, you find your well-being. So I would say to any women out there who is struggling with menopause, who is struggling with situations where they feel unwell, not right, or family situations, reach out, find people to talk to. And I'm passionate about a lot of various things, and I want to set up certain conversations on certain topics, which I'm working on, but it's about bringing groups of women together to find their voice, to say, look, I've got this. And really to say to women, to be kind to yourselves, because we are absolutely incredible. What seems to be forgotten here is that as women, we take on everything. We take on, don't get me wrong now. I love men. I've got a wonderful husband, so I'm not men bashing when I say this, right? But, instinctively, the majority of women end up with the main role of the homemaker. They end up with the main, for whatever apparent reason, as a default, whether it's genetic, whether it's inbuilt into us, we end up, being, the main taker on of certain roles.
Well, it comes from ancestors, doesn't it? It's from our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers. It's what we have done as women since the beginning of time. And it does work, but I think with changes in society and financially, women have had to go into the workplace. One wage doesn't fit, doesn't actually pay your mortgage and your bills now. So I think it's pressure on the woman to go to work, and then she still has to do the role of the job at home. We're
natural nurturers, obviously. We're the only sex that actually can give birth and create life.
Yeah.
So you know, let's acknowledge that one.
Yeah,
That's quite powerful and magical. That's something that we first of all do, and then we're asked to then fit into all the other societal changes and demands on us, and work in systems that actually weren't created by females. And I would say to all the women, we need to get together. We need to start to create the systems that work for us, that gives us the work-life balance that we all deserve. Because if we are not well in ourselves, if we are being stressed, if we are being under pressure, we're reflecting that actually onto the children, whether we like it or not. And we as human beings need to demonstrate what it is that we want for our children. So I would be very mindful in how I talk, behave, and act. And don't get me wrong, I have moments where I have meltdowns. I'm a human being, but I'm very aware that I'm demonstrating to my daughter.
How old is your daughter?
What I want for her. She's beautiful. She's 15 in February. She's beautiful. I'm sure, of course, she's beautiful. I mean, but I want to demonstrate to her that this is the way it can be for her, or encourage her to have her voice, to encourage her to stand up for herself, and encourage her to live the life that she wants to live, not to fit into a system just because the system's there and it's designed, because sometimes systems don't fit children, and you're trying to shove a round peg into a square hole. And as human beings, none of us are square. We're all different shapes and makes. That's what makes us wonderful, and why do we want to conform people and uniform them and stick them into different let's encourage this. And as women, we need to speak more about that, and we need to say, no, I want to be able to do this, and recommend and start to shift things. Let's shake things up. Let's shake some systems up, and let's start creating some of our own systems, I would say. There you go. There's a big statement, Lucy. I did not plan to say that this morning.
No, I do agree with you. And going back, say my mom's generation, she would have been a stay-at-home mom, and my dad would have been the one who went out and earned the money. And my mom still worked. She still did jobs around the house. We grew up on a farm, so she still ran the farm side of things, but she was more stay at home. But there was a community of women that stayed at home, and they were together. They helped each other. They met up, they had their morning coffees and stuff, but that was their time of letting go of, say, problems, maybe something their husband annoyed them with, or a child, a problem with a child, or how you deal with different things, whatever it would be that came up in conversation. Whereas, because I think we all work now, we don't have that opportunity to do the sharing that we used to do, like a problem shared is a problem halved, that expression, or you've got all inputs then to help you get through it. Support really is what the word I'm looking for. You get that support, where we don't have that support now, because you're not reaching out for it like you used to. You don't put your hand out for help anymore. But I'm sure there are, if you put your hand out to help, like if I asked you for help, Jacqui, I know that you would come back with so many inspiring things to help me through a difficult situation. But it's having the courage and vulnerability to put yourself in that position to ask for help. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, but that goes back to that kind of self-talk, be very conscious and aware of what you're telling yourself before you actually put your hand out to ask the question. Don't preempt the person's response.
No.
Don't preempt what they're going to think. I mean, an awful lot of difficulties in the world is out of someone preempting or assuming what somebody else is thinking, when in actual fact, none of us have a clue what anybody else is thinking. And in actual fact, we need to become aware of some of our own self-talk, which stops us from stepping into who we truly are, which stops us from seeking the assistance and help that we need, that stops us from being the wonderful, limitless persons that we all are. Like, we're limitless, and it's conditioning that has told us that we're limited. So that's what I'm passionate about, is allowing people to step into who they truly are, step into their vulnerability. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I mean, it was like, I brought this up. It was this sort of idea that if somebody cries that they're weak, well, isn't that a lot of rubbish? I mean, to say to somebody that if you cry that you're weak is very insulting, because it's one of the most vulnerable, courageous acts that anybody can do, to be in that moment, to just be upset, to let it go, to let it come out. and to reset yourself, to rebalance. And
Mm.
you know, these are the things that's important for the younger people to understand, to say it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, you know, I'm having an off day. And if you need help, to talk about it.
Absolutely. I
And
couldn't
be
agree
kind to
more.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, funny enough, I had a patient coming to me yesterday, and she was running late, and she said when she was driving over to me, "Oh my God, Lucy's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late." And she came into the clinic, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, thank goodness you were late, because I'm running late myself." And she was like, "I didn't expect that reply," because she had it in her head that I was going to kill her. But whereas I was like, "No problem, take a seat. I'm running a tiny bit late myself." And she was like, "Whew, thank goodness." It was just funny the way you think differently in your head to the reaction people are going to give you. It is amazing.
It is amazing. And it's also, you know, if you become aware of that, it's amazing how it's stopping you from stepping into doing stuff that you should do, that you should take a chance on, and just give it a go and see where it brings you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your life goes in the direction of where you place your attention.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you know,
true.
be really deliberate around where you're going to place your attention to do the things that you want to do. I mean, for me, anything I try to do and work on at the minute is to try and bring me a bit of peace of mind, security, and then just love. You know, like it's priority. Family is always a big priority for me. So, and if I do that, that's good enough for me. You know, the rest will fall into place. So yes, you know, be aware of that negative self-talk talking you out of, oh, I couldn't do that. Sure, why could I not do that? Sure. You know, this inner critic that we all have, you know.
I know.
Because some people think that they're the only one with an inner critic. Well, they're not. We've all got one.
I think we have two huge fears in life: the fear of not being good enough and the fear of not being loved. They're the two biggest fears that people have. And as you said, it's only ourselves that think that we're not good enough. We are good enough. We can try any challenge. Some challenges mightn't suit us, so we have to maybe sidestep that one and try a different one, but we don't know it unless we try. It's actually putting yourself out there, isn't it? Again, I was just thinking of a patient that I had. She was in her late 40s, early 50s, and she decided that that was it. Life was done. She'd had her kids. Unfortunately, she separated from her husband. That happened, but she decided that life couldn't go on. She was finished. No more, you know, had no purpose in her life anymore. So we really worked hard on that, getting her purpose back. And she went on and like she joined back the tennis club, she joined an ICA group of women, and she went on and did planned a holiday for that year, which was phenomenal for her because she never thought she could do any of those things. But she actually just stepped outside of her comfort zone and started living again. And you could see it when she came back in to see me, the bounce in her step, the smile on her face, you know, her energy was back and she just felt good again. It was really great to see that happening for her.
But life is for living, you know.
It is for living.
It's not for us to remain confined in our little safe spaces. It is about living. It is about, you know, looking at, rather than looking at something as a challenge, just, you know, what's going to happen here? What's the lesson in this that I can learn, and showing it and just trying it. And the more we do it and the more we just tip away at it, you'll find, God, this is interesting, because what it starts to do is bring us different things in our lives that we won't get if we sit at home sitting in fear, you know. And fear is, you know, I love the words for fear, because it's like fear is false experiences appearing real. That they're the stories that we tell ourselves how it's going to play out. This will happen. It's never what we think is going to happen.
That's true.
You know, but I mean, I have to actually tell myself that 2 times, because you can run away, your head can run away and you're gone. And you go, what's all this about? Come back. Because it's never what we think it's going to be.
Yeah,
So,
no,
you
I
know,
agree.
if we're really quite deliberate in where we place our attention on stuff when we're doing things, that's really a peaceful place, because what you'll do is you'll bring yourself into the present moment and you'll work on something in this moment, and you'll notice all this clutter will go, all this noise will go. So it's about you really practicing putting your attention on stuff that you want to do. to give you
It's
the
almost
output
just
you want.
taking that deep breath in and letting it out and just seeing what's important, what's not important, decluttering your brain. I love the analogy of there's a program on BBC by Stacey Solomon's doing it, and she goes into someone's house and she declutters their house. So she takes everything out of their house and lays it in this big warehouse. And I watched it a couple of times, but there was a group of girls living in a house, a mom and I think 3 or 4 daughters, but they had 147 bottles of nail varnish coming out of their house. You know, some were full, some were half empty, some were empty. And it's just, and I always think that's a really great way of like just taking everything that's going on in your head and putting like circles around it, and then prioritizing what's important, what's to keep, and then what you actually just need to let go of, you know, let back out into the universe with love. I just love that way of like making little hearts over the things that are really important to you and should stay there, but the ones that aren't, just let them go, you know, send them off, and send them off with love. Everything has to be sent away with love, but that you don't need half the stuff is like in that house.
Oh, absolutely. It's like decluttering. It's like decluttering the head or your environment. I mean, your environment is very important, even the spaces you sit in. And the less decluttered it is, the more comfortable and peaceful it is. Because it is in that chaos and there's lots of stuff. That brings in clutter. You can actually feel it. So, it is about being deliberate and not holding on to stuff and just letting stuff pass. You know, just seeing your inner critic, seeing, you know, but just say, oh, that's interesting. You know, because sometimes some of my stuff is very interesting and I go, where's that coming from? So it's that piece of just kind of, looking at it, accepting it, but not entertaining it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Not giving it the airtime it thinks it deserves, and changing that pattern, that story that you keep playing over and over again in your head. It's really powerful. So powerful. So it is, you know, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Some really amazing advice you've given us there. What's a tip that you would you could share with everyone here that they could do?
I suppose right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and there's an awful lot of sense of being overwhelmed and anxiety going around. And I would say to everybody and anybody, just like you feed your body good food, just like we talk about our health and diet, feed your mind. Stop watching the TV, watching what's going on. You know, we can't control it. It's not going to feed you anything to help you to put you in a positive state of mind. So feed your mind with stuff that's going to actually stretch your thinking, get you, you know, challenge your thinking. So, you know, listen to I listen to audios all the time, empowering audios. Pick up a book that you wouldn't maybe normally buy that's going to push the mindset.
One of your books would be good.
One of my books, Pick, Inspire. Very good, Lucy. I didn't think of that. Pick, Inspire, Heal and Empower. There's a toolkit in that too. And that's the first thing. So feed your mind nice things. So, you know, check in if you need to the news, watch it for 5 minutes and put it off, because you will find that if you watch it in a week's time, not much really will have changed. So it's of no benefit to feed you this negative information all the time. So feed your mind. And I give you a little tool and technique. We call it an anchor, because I'm in therapy. And this will help you. This will help you to ground yourself in moments when you're a little bit overwhelmed. So if you sit, get yourself comfortable there in the chair. Lucy will do it with you, because we don't
I'm going sideways a bit because the sun.
And what we're going to do is create an anchor, as we'd say in therapy, which is to get your thumb and index finger and create a circle. And as you close your thumb and your index finger, you can either choose to close your eyes or not, but you can gently close your eyes. And I want you to imagine a very, very happy moment in time. And as you imagine that very happy moment in time, I want you to bring your attention to the feelings that you had in that happy moment. And I want you to push them through that wonderful circle. So that at any time when you are a little bit overwhelmed or anxious, you can gently sit, close your eyes, and bring yourself to that very happy place and those feelings. And be very descriptive. Who's with you in that happy place? What clothes are you wearing? What's the temperature? Is it night? Is it day? What's the colors? Are they bright? Are you warm? Is it nice and crisp and frosty? And push those through your anchor to ground yourself. And that anchor can be done anywhere, anytime with you. It's your own anchor to bring up these feelings of calm, peaceful relaxation.
Oh, that's very beautiful. Thank you. I have a really lovely anchor. So I do. It takes me back to my childhood when I was running. I used to be able to run around in the fields with my friends in the sunshine and the smell of the grass. We used to have a little stream at the bottom of our farm, and there used to be ducks on it and stuff. Just nature, being outside would be my big anchor.
So isn't that amazing that by just doing that, by simply creating that circle, you automatically brought yourself back to a situation as a child? Isn't it incredible the power of your imagination?
Huge.
So, you know, to say to anybody listening, power of imagination, whilst we're having, say, a thought or a situation whereby we're overwhelmed and stressed, as quickly as we can do that with the anchor, you can replace it to a thought of beautiful running, as you said, through the fields and the grass, whatever that may be. And these are the techniques that will help us to ground ourselves, step into who we truly are in our lives, and give us the confidence too to reach out, say to you, people who are suffering with menopause, or to reach out and looking to work with somebody who's, like myself, say lacking confidence or lacking self-belief or has this inner critic. Because we all have an inner critic. And that's the message I want to get out there, because there's an epidemic going on out there and nobody's talking about it. And it's about people and their inner critic, and they're not living their lives and who they truly are. And we only get one go. So let's make the best of it, and let's reach out to each other and let's talk. I'd say, you know, talking is a wonderful medicine.
It is, and we're actually, as a human race, we are a herd of people. Like, we like community together, and love and connection is a huge part, and we do cut ourselves off from that, unfortunately, for some strange reason. We do that at times, especially when we do it, it's the time when we really need the help. So
yes, and I don't think it's done deliberate. I think it's often done because, once again, it comes out of a sense of conditioning that, you know, keep your personal stuff to yourself. That's something that's said, because, you know, oh yeah, no, be careful now who you say that to. Keep that person's stuff to yourself, because someone might think something different of you. So there again, you see, you've got two things going on. You've got the conditioning that you've been given to not really share and to not talk, because if you do, somebody else is going to say something awful about you, which is in turn then is another story that you've just created, which in actual fact probably will never happen, because somebody will turn around to somebody in need or who needs help, and they'll reach out and they'll say, "You're all right, come on." Because that's what we do as human beings. We don't turn around and go, "Oh, is that what's wrong with you?" "Oh yeah," or "That's not how it works."
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. So it's all around that, really, the conditioning. You know, what are the beliefs that you take on board that's really stopping you living your life? You know, I mean, one of the big ones for me always stood out as children. This was a really common saying: children should be seen, not heard. So when you were took to visit, when you were took somewhere, you were meant to sit quiet. You weren't meant to say anything. And, you know, as children, as we grow up as adults, that limits a lot of people in how they express themselves and their voice, because they've been told to be seen and not heard.
I'd have been brought up like that, very much like that, not seen and not heard. Yeah, sit down, just say nothing, sit still, don't fidget, keep still, yes. Don't talk, nothing. Only talk when you're spoken to. Yeah, very much so.
And you see, to be mindful of these things, to be mindful of these beliefs that we were given, and to say, no, that's not true. And I have a voice, and my voice is of value. So that what you have to say, Lucy, and that what I have to say is of equal value. We just say it in completely different ways. And that's what makes us human, because we've all got something to say and we can bring it. And we all say it in a different way, because that's what's beautiful about us. But it's of value. And so there's a lot of people going around suppressing their voice and not speaking because of that, say, child, that comment that they got as a child. And by now we're encouraging children to speak, and we're, you know, we're not kind of saying, sit there now and don't move. You know, when you think about the limitation you placed on the child, and we say, you know, children should be seen and not heard. To think.
I know, it's scary, isn't it, to think that?
We wouldn't dream of saying that now to our children. We wouldn't dream in a million years to say that. You sit there and be quiet and don't move. It wouldn't even come in to our psyche. So it's around being mindful, being conscious of what's going on, and some of the stories that maybe you were told as a child that is now limiting you in your life to move forward and to come forward and to talk about the stuff that we all go through.
It's almost time to rest that side of yourself, that child that you was what got you through that stage in your life, you know, when you're 8, 9 years old. It's to almost say, now it's time, that side of me needs to take a rest now, and she doesn't need to be seen and not heard anymore. She needs to be, you know, living life to the full, speaking to people when she needs to, it's seeking help. So it's about doing that, isn't it?
It's about us as adults saying to our inner child, it's okay, you have a voice and it's wonderful, come on, pop out, come and play with me. I mean, there's something wonderful about us as adults. I don't know about you, but I mean, there's something childlike. I do love devilment, and I'm up for a bit of fun, but I love that. That's the child in me, and I want to embrace that. And to try and no, you're an adult, it's all serious and fun. No, it's not. Life has to be fun. If there's not a bit of fun in life, sure, what's life about if we're all going around serious? So I would say bring out the inner child and tell your little inner child, you know what? Yeah, that was fine for them, but you know, I know better, and I'm telling you now, come out and share your voice and speak. And that's what I would say to
and have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Have some fun and watch as you're having fun, because some might look and go, oh, but they'll want the fun too.
I know,
say they want the fun, but they do, because that's what we all, what's all, you know, that's what life is about, isn't it?
Yeah, and fun and laughter actually can help boost your immune system for a good 24 hours, which we need again in this situation that we're in at the moment. So it's good to have fun and laughter in your life. It is.
Absolutely. And do you know that, you know, as we talk about that in the inner child and smiling, that, you know, as children, we would have smiled 600 times a day.
Yeah. And you don't realize
it's gone down now. So why is that? What was that made us stop smiling as much? So there's life and conditions. So it's to be mindful and start smiling again. You know, that natural ability that we all have. It's just, a smile is life-changing, because what happens is when you smile, the person smiles back.
They do smile back.
Yeah, it's funny, you know.
And it's hard now because you're wearing the masks out, but I think if you just smile, and your eyes will tell someone that you're smiling as well.
Absolutely. And I find since the pandemic, though, I do notice this a lot. I notice the children say hello to me, and it's normally when I'm doing the grocery shopping, right? And it's funny. And actually hear the voice is like, hello, how do you look? And like last Friday, I was standing waiting to get in the queue next to a big loud voice. Obviously I had the mask on, but this little guy in the trolley, he's got two, big hello over to me, and I just went, well, hello, and it was just wonderful. And the mum kind of looked to go, oh, but, and I said, no, he's fine. Like, what is it that shifts us from that to kind of being, oh, I can't say hello to somebody like that when I'm an adult? So it's about being mindful of all of this and maybe push the boundaries and say, hello, how are you? And watch for their reaction.
Yeah, exactly. Almost set yourself the challenge. See how many people will say hello back to you.
And you know what you'll find that some people are just so delighted, because maybe that person there won't see anybody else after they leave.
Exactly.
None of us know the circumstances that anybody's living in on their own or not. And
it's so true, actually. Do you know, that is so true? And you could make a really great friend by just smiling and saying hi to them. How are you? How's your day? isn't
I've
it?
met one of my best friends, right? And she's my best friend now, at least 18 years. She's 10 years my junior than me. And we met by smiling because I smiled when I saw her dog, because I love dogs. And that was it. We started to talk in this little corner shop, and we are best friends.
It's mad, isn't it? The way I met a really great friend of mine like that. I knew her through the connections for horses, and people would be saying, have you met Sue? Have you met Sue? And I'd be like, I've heard about her, but I've never met her. And then by chance, she rang me. I was going to ring her the same day she rang me, and we were on the phone for about an hour, and we just had this huge connection. And then ever since then, we would speak like every Monday morning, we'd ring each other for a chat. And I think that's like, it's so important for her and for me, you know, because she could tell me something that's going on in her life, and I could be moaning about something that's going on in my life, or it could be really good things. Like I was away at the weekend, and it was just, I had a great weekend. I was telling her about that. You know, it's just like really lovely to connect with my friend. And I think we became friends because I showed her a vulnerability. I asked her for her help one day and her guidance. And it's since then we became really close. So I think it's amazing when you reach out to someone who is a friend, they can become a really great friend. When you do that, they can really become a great friend. And I'm so glad I did that. And I wouldn't have, you know, and Sue has become a super close friend because of it. It's really good. Yeah,
and there's such a deep connection, isn't there?
Yeah,
you know, and within that connection, within those conversations that we have with certain people in our lives, it's there's just no judgment, and we're completely ourselves, and we're completely free. And that is that beautiful essence that you're describing, because there's no judgment. You can be you. You're okay to be you. You know, no matter what you say or how you show up, that you still be respected and loved. And we all have that. And we all have that. It's only when we start to place judgments on others, or that this sort of fear comes in, of fear of being seen as, you know, oh, I have to show up like this, or I have to show up like that. We don't have to show up like anything. We have to show up as ourselves. And as somebody, you show up as ourselves, people sense that.
Yeah, and it's too hard to work not being yourself, I think. And I you know, not, you know, having to put on a like fake persona, it becomes too hard to work to keep it up. But I think you do, if you show your true colors, yeah, you get great friends. And it is hard to, you really do.
Whatever's at ease, because they
Yeah,
sense it off you, whereby it takes a lot of energy, to be somebody else. It takes, and then that people do that for a lot of reasons, for protection, to mind themselves, to hide stuff, you know, that they're carrying, that they haven't talked about or they haven't addressed, which I get into in the book. I say shame is like secretly hiding all meaningful emotions, and that's what it does. It makes you shame that you're carrying something that if you say to somebody else, they're going to have an opinion on it, or they're going to say to you, oh God, about you. And there you go again. There's another story we've just created, that we actually don't know the outcome, because when we show up as our real selves, all we'll find is somebody else to say, come on, I'll help you.
it's very true, actually. My daughter is listening to Harry Potter at the moment. I can't remember which book it is, but one of the books, something terrible happens to Harry anyway, and he can't talk about it. And Dumbledore puts a spell on him so that he's able to say the words out loud. Because I think sometimes words do get stuck in your throat. And, you know, I do Chinese medicine as well, and it can create all sorts of problems, like breathing problems, heart, anxiety. Sometimes you can feel like you have a lump in your throat that you can't swallow. So it creates all sorts of problems, you know, cave in on yourself. But I love the way he put the spell on, and then he was saying that the words were like poison pouring out of him. You know, it's like, and it was just like, wow, that's such a great description of it, you know, letting the poison out, because that essentially is what you're doing, letting it out. So it is. Jacqui, I could talk to you forever about this, and you've been incredible. And don't forget that Jacqui's book is there. I'll share the link. It's Inspire, Heal and Empower. And she's an incredible woman and done great work. So I recommend her book. Really, I recommend you get the book, especially Christmas coming up. Be a great present to give to people. And thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. It's been a real pleasure.
Lovely talking to you, Lucy. Sure, I talk here all day. We'll talk again. We'll come back
We
again.
will. We definitely need to do it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Oh,
We're still live, but don't worry.
yeah, no, I'm just going to stop it here. There we go, stop. And I just have to take it off live off of Facebook.